Time for an oil change? Head to Jiffy Lube. We've got you covered. We've also got you covered when it comes to oil changes, thanks to Pennzoil Synthetic Motor Oil, getting you back on the road in a jiffy. Jiffy Lube. Leave worry behind.
I think they are either, but if the phone rang, they'd pick it up. You always pick up the phone.
2 shows earlier.
But inside that office, if Sam Darnold is head and shoulders above the other ones, and that's the guy they want, I would not even answer the phone.
I kind of feel like they're making you a human pinata today.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Am I right or wrong?
Which time?
Exactly.
Either way, you're covered.
Exactly.
You're covered.
That's exactly right.
That's
you
all
bring
that
up the
matters.
conversation, I can be said I was right or I was wrong.
You're
I'm good
covered.
with that.
You're covered. That's the brilliance of you.
You think you're pulling one over on me when I'm pulling one over on you, when you think you're
pulling something over on all of us.
Never mind.
Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio, ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, and this hour of Golic and Wingo is brought to you by La Quinta Inns and Suites. Book at LQ.com and win a business.
We are
winning.
down in LQ.
Yeah.
La Quinta down in Dallas.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that. It'll be a good time. We'll be down there for the draft next week. Our show will be there, Wednesday through Friday?
Yes,
and
it
of
will.
course, I'll be doing the draft Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And we'll talk a lot about the draft with Florida man.
Yeah.
ESPN NL reporter Jeff Darlington joins us in studio.
Hey, guys.
Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless.
Great
best phones,
idea,
best
Mike.
networks, no contracts.
What's
Great
that?
idea. I'm going to try that with draft coverage, actually. The Giants would be crazy not to draft Saquon Barkley. And then I'm going to do it the other way. The Giants would be crazy if they drafted Saquon Barkley.
There you go.
So now I've got both
You're covered,
on
right?
the record. I will pull that out.
Hey, I'm just here to help.
Thank you.
By the way,
Master of the field.
what you look athletic. Pretty athletic.
Hey, he's got a pretty good golf swing.
We golf
Pretty
together.
good golf swing.
You can try.
More athletic than
I don't-
Trey.
Hey, well, that's a low bar to cross.
What's the farthest you've ever run in
Yeah.
36 degrees sideways rain?
Do I look intelligent at all? Because
Have you ever run
in
a
that
marathon?
regard,
Have
no.
You've never.
My dad used to run marathons in the 80s,
Did he
and
really?
he'd cross the finish line and ask for his pack of cigarettes right when he got there.
It's important
That's
to
the
have balance.
80s. That's the 80s right
for
there.
you.
Again, referencing the Boston Marathon yesterday.
Yeah.
36, 37 degrees sideways rain. Unbelievable
Who
what
would
went
do
on with
that?
that.
Well,
plenty of people.
By the way, the first thing I said when I knew Jeff was coming on the show, I said, don't bother bringing your sticks.
Yeah.
Because we like to play a little golf, and just not that golf weather right now.
No, it is not.
It's okay for spring to start on April 17th.
You damned us all. Wait, thinking
I did.
You did.
This was my fault. I said this 2 weeks ago. I think the worst part of it is over.
Yeah.
And we've had 3 snowstorms.
Yeah,
since.
look at all the people in Green Bay who are just cursing you out right now.
They should. By the way, our Packers reporter, Rob Domofsky, with one of the greatest posts of all time, as it was snowing, 2 feet of snow.
The emoji of the middle finger?
No. He went outside in shorts, cracked open a beer, and put it up a post, find your beach.
Saw that. It was fantastic.
Fantastic.
Completely
That
agree.
sounds like a Corona commercial.
Yes,
Yeah.
Rob Domofsky, let me just say, well
Very
done.
good.
Well done by
Very
you.
good, yeah.
All right, we got a lot to get to with Florida man here, Jeff Darlington. So let's start real quickly with what's trending. Joel Embiid is not happy. He vented on Instagram after the loss to the Miami Heat, bleeping sick and tired of being babied. He has not played down the stretch of the regular season, nor in either of the first 2 playoff games because of that injury to his orbital bone fracture. And he may not play in Game 3, Mike, and he's got to understand the Sixers are looking out for his best interest.
Only he didn't say the word fudge.
He said the word.
The word, the mother of all words. Hey, listen, I get it. He's a frustrated athlete. Everybody wants to play. Now, is it the best thing in the world to go out on your Insta story and basically call your team out for babying you? No, but listen, I get it. Today, this is how these players, they vent on Twitter and on Instagram and all the different ways that you can in social media. I'm not saying it's the greatest thing in the world, but I get it more. And we always talk about Joel Embiid being not only a great player, but really fits that mold of the athlete of today, embracing the social media, using social media. He's a very gregarious guy, the incredible personality that he has. Gregarious.
Didi
is gregarious.
So he's good at home
Gregarious.
runs.
Well, he is. He has 5, right? He has a great personality. And it shows. There is no doubt about that. So I don't mind him saying that he wants to play. Doubtful still, I think, for Game 3, which is going to be in Miami. Maybe you'll get him in Game 4, but wouldn't put it past Philadelphia if all of a sudden maybe he can get some minutes in this game.
Well, again, this Game 3 in Miami is the most pressure-packed game for the Sixers in 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years. Because the series is tied at 1. They've lost home court. They may not have Embiid, and they could go down 2-1. So we'll see how they play that out when they get to Game 3, which will be in 6 weeks. Meanwhile, as you were mentioning, the Boston Marathon run in horrific conditions on Monday, and congratulations to Des Linden. Apparently she's a mutter. The first U.S. woman to win the Boston Marathon since 1985.
Really incredible story, especially in this race when they were watching a lot of it in the rain, how the direction was going to go, when people were going to make the pass. She did on Heartbreak Hill. I believe, made her move for that. But just to finish that run, let alone, obviously, the competitive runners are still running competitively. The people that are just training to run it are trying to find any way they can to get through it. And I think there were hundreds who had to seek medical attention because of how cold and wet it was. But, these competitive runners, they are doing their thing, and congrats to her for a monster win. Slower times because of the rain, but
they were running into a 30-mile-an-hour headwind.
Nobody was expecting any kind of a record times here, but really impressive. And do it on Heartbreak Hill is wow.
Yeah, and Jeff Darlington with us. Your dad did run marathons?
Oh, yeah.
How many?
I think like 4 or 5.
Really?
Legit. Like
and a pack of cigarettes after each
80s, one? The New York Marathon.
Wow.
4 or 5, and a pack of cigarettes after each one.
All I can think of is John Belushi. Logged a lot of miles training for that day as he's selling a cigarette. Down a little chocolate donuts.
Along that line, I watched in the green room with Damian Woody.
Yeah.
I watched the marathon. We watched part of the marathon. That should be a small box in the corner because that was entertainment in itself.
It really was.
Him watching that, the befuddled mind of him as he's watching these people run for alleged fun or whatever they're doing it for was
we talked to Damian about it yesterday about the thought of him running a marathon. It was pretty comical. And I didn't realize the undulations in this track as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it is
not
hilly.
flat.
It is not.
I ran a 10K in Central Park once, and you think of Central Park being flat. It is not flat.
Hey,
no.
Trey,
a lot of hills.
Why?
Honestly, for prostate cancer awareness.
Okay, you win.
Nice. Yeah.
Feel better about yourself, Jeff? Feel better about yourself, Jeff?
See you, Jeff. Thanks for stopping by.
There you go. Yeah. By the way, I do have to credit our own Dan Stanzik. He once ran a half marathon in Syracuse in a snowstorm.
He did.
Is that correct, Dan?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you want to say yes. He's nodding to me. This is a radio thing.
I did.
Thank you.
And you ran how many marathons?
2.
What's your best time?
3:38. Like an hour slower than the female winner yesterday.
Would you ever run another one?
Probably.
3:38. What does that average out to? What you're on
about? Like 8:20 a mile.
That's very impressive. That's 8:20 for 26 miles.
She ran, and the winner, Des, ran 6:05.
I played 18 holes in 3:38.
There you go. We almost played 27.
Oh, there it is.
And then there's the other one. Yeah. Look, there's the competitors that are expected to win and do these kind of things. And then there's these unbelievable stories, like Sarah Sellers. She finished 4 minutes and 10 seconds behind the winner in second place in her second ever marathon.
Yeah.
She had no idea she finished second, and she pocketed $75,000.
She is a full-time nurse from Arizona. Came there with her husband, some other family members. I think 1 or 2 that ran in it. She ran in a pair of $90 New Balance shoes.
She'll never pay for shoes again.
She had no idea what place she finished in when she finished. Found out she did run in college, found out she was second, ended up winning $75,000 in prize money. She did want to be in the top 15 of American women that would qualify her for Olympic trials. So she finished second amongst American women. So
mission accomplished.
Congrats to that, and congrats for the $75,000 in your second marathon. Hey, Stanzik, how many marathons did you run again?
2. I didn't finish in second in either one of them.
Yeah, boy, she just absolutely stomped all over you, didn't she?
Sure did.
There you go.
I have a buddy of mine that finished next to last in a marathon, and he said, you know what they call a last place finisher in a marathon?
What's that?
A marathon finisher.
That's exactly right. I wouldn't care one bit, man. You finished the marathon.
Yeah. Crawl me,
It's
like Stanzik just said. What do they call the last place finisher in med school? Doctor.
Yeah,
so it all works out. It all works out. So congratulations all the way around. Okay, Florida man Jeff Darlington with us, our fine NFL reporter, and you had a story last time you were up here a couple of weeks ago about Rob Gronkowski leaning towards coming back and playing. But a couple of weeks later, he's not at the beginning of off-season workouts for the Patriots. Neither is Tom Brady, who's in Qatar, I believe, dominating TB12 Worldwide Enterprises.
Riding camels, the whole deal. Yeah.
So the fact that we haven't heard anything definitive still yet from Gronkowski, what are the odds that that retirement thing is still in play?
I would say it's the same as it was based on the conversation I'm having, that he is continuing to prepare.
So it's the talking head, same as it ever was?
Same as it ever was, exactly. And I would say that he still is preparing his body to play in 2018. He's still telling people close to him that it's still pretty much 2018 for him. But this is a situation where, I think he wants to get away from the facility, wants to clear his head physically, mentally, wants to get himself back to a place. Because one of the things that was explained to me is that he knows if he's going to continue with the Patriots, he has to be ready for the grind. That Bill Belichick is not going to somehow change his ways and make things easier on him. Now, the one thing I will add to this, though, is that he still is an underpaid tight end. And if Drew Rosenhaus calls the Patriots very soon to talk about, hey, my guy will come back.
Pay my boy.
That should not surprise anybody.
For those who don't know, 2 years left on the deal. I believe a little over $8 million he's supposed to make this year, and $10 million, some right in that area for next year. Here's my thought on this, Jeff. Tell me what you think. Is there does seem to be, we want to sit there and call it cracks in the armor for a team that has won a ton of Super Bowls and just had a loss in a Super Bowl, so they were still there. You heard the Danny Amendola interview about Belichick's the best coach, but sometimes he can be a blankety blank and how hard it is. So everybody's starting to go, whoa. My thought is, I think Gronk's coming back to play. Brady is definitely coming back to play, and Bill Belichick's going to be the coach. Once they all walk in that building, to me, that talk is over because
you sign up for it.
They all know Bill Belichick is not going to change. So if you step back in that building, you know it's going to be the grind that it's normally been, you've chosen to go back to it.
If and when they step back into that building, though. And that's the one area that I think that there is some empowerment right now. Someone asked me about the idea of a mutiny. Is this a mutiny being led by Tom Brady? I would not take it that far, but I would say this. If guys are feeling empowered by the actions and behavior of Tom Brady, saying, hey guys, I'm going to take a stand because it's not just about money, it's about treatment, and it's ultimately about, pick one or the other. If you're going to grind on these guys that hard, as Bill Belichick often does, at some point, you might have to wind up paying him. Now, this has worked for years and years and years, and some people would say, well, why change it now? People change. I mean, they got a 41-year-old quarterback now. He's not a 22-year-old, 23-year-old guy. So I could see behavioral change within the organization, and that's going to make a hard decision for Bill Belichick.
I get it. I definitely get it. The attitude changes, but my thought is if they walk back in that building, who else would think about a mutiny outside of Gronk or Brady? And I know you didn't mean a mutiny.
Yes.
I know, but
you did it. You said ESPN's Jeff Darlington says there's a mutiny with New England.
Even any other players in there thinking, yeah, we shouldn't be treated this way. I mean, Damian Woody sat in here and said, I spent 4 years there, won a couple of Super Bowls, and it was some of the hardest stuff I ever did, and I knew they weren't going to pay me, so I went somewhere else.
That's right.
And everybody's sitting there and pointing to saying, oh, they looked across the field and they saw, how much fun the Eagles were having.
Come on.
That was the Eagles' first Super Bowl.
Thank you.
Okay, the Eagles aren't in the NFC Championship game every year like the Patriots are. You have it great. It is hard work. I'm not going to say it's not hard work, but man, you play the game to get the payoff, and they were getting the payoff.
It's going to be very important and difficult for people to treat all of these situations uniquely, whether it's Rob Gronkowski, Danny Amendola. Danny Amendola is one of dozens of guys who did exactly that, and the Patriots moved on and charged on and won more Super Bowls. Tom Brady is a very different beast in this regard. And that one, I think that we're going to have to watch extremely closely because there is an assumption that this will all go away and it will all be fine. And for the most part, that is a strong possibility because when these guys do get in a room, they recognize that we're really good at this together and we need to charge on. But I would not dismiss this situation. I would not just assume because the Patriot way has succeeded in the past that it will continue to do just that.
Jeff Darlington, our NFL ESPN reporter, is with us in studio. You're right, but we're talking about the situation here with New England that has never. We're talking about a 17-year stretch.
Right.
This has never happened. And that's why, Mike, I think what you said is so significant. Yes, will occasionally a Philadelphia win their first ever Super Bowl? Absolutely. Will there be a year like Super Bowl 50? Where Peyton Manning on his last legs has this unbelievable defense that carries them to a championship. But let's just look at what happened before that.
Yeah.
Super Bowl 49, the Patriots won. Super Bowl 50, they had to get through the Patriots to get there. Super Bowl 51, the Patriots come back and win. And Super Bowl 52, the Patriots had a chance to win that one. They're in it every year. Yeah. They're in it every year because of this dynamic that is set up in place. And to think that a guy like Bill Belichick is going to change that because a couple of people are barking at him, forget it,
but
man.
But how has that happened? Has it happened also due to the fact that Tom Brady is back there taking less money.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And
There's no
doing a
question.
really good job.
There's a formula.
But they've all signed up for it.
Right.
So the idea that suddenly they're going to change the dynamic 17 years in, I think is fool's gold.
I guess that's my point. When they all decide, and I think they all will, these three we're talking about, we know Bill's coaching, we know Tom's quarterback, and he wants quarterback till he's 80. Gronk's the only question mark. I still think he's going back. I guess that's back to my point, Jeff, again, is once they all get back in the building, then they all know what the game plan is. I don't think there's any – I can't believe in my mind that Tom Brady or Gronk thinks that Bill Belichick is going to change one bit. And if they step back in that building, they know exactly what the script is going to be every single day through that season.
I think that is very accurate, and that is partly why both guys aren't in the building right now, is that they are clearing their head and their mind and their bodies. And continuing to, and the other thing is, there's a lot being made of Alex Guerrero, as there should be. That is a very
TB12.
strong.
Right, for those that know, Alex Guerrero, Tom's trainer, he has the whole TB12 experience, and Bill Belichick was upset that some of the players were going to Alex Guerrero instead of the Patriots training staff.
Right,
and that's a legitimate thing, by the way, if you're the head coach.
What is very unique about this situation this year, as we move forward, just something to watch, something to keep in mind. In 2010, when Brady was dealing with a contract situation, stayed away from the offseason program, he was out in Los Angeles with his firstborn child, spending more time with family out there. This time around, he'll be in Boston throughout this offseason program. The TB12 facility is about 5 football fields away from Gillette Stadium. So, like, when I'm up there covering games, I walk past the TB12 facility to get a coffee. Like, that's how close it
right
is
there
to the stadium. And him and Gronkowski are going to be over there. If that doesn't give you some sense of the dissension and frustration, I don't know how to better symbolize the seriousness of this situation.
Look, that is pretty amazing it being that close.
I mean, Seth Wickersham in that article that the Patriots said is not true. It's not true. They found a couple of things they didn't like about that had maybe been disputed, but the overall tone of that article that came out was true. This has been a very and Robert Kraft had alluded to it as they got to the Super Bowl. It's been a very difficult year for them. By the way, on the contract numbers for Gronk, according to our fine researcher and occasional contributor to the show, Brett, Gronk is averaging 9 per year in his current deal. He'll average 9.5 per year over the next 2. Jimmy Graham is ahead of him at 10. Travis Kelce and Jordan Reed are both at 9.3. So, I mean, he's really right there, except for Jimmy Graham, whose deal is more recent, and you could certainly make a very compelling case that Rob Gronkowski should be paid more than Jimmy Graham at this point.
Here's the one thing I'll say. If you're going to grind on guys, and this is a sentiment that talking to all these different people that I've spoken to, if you're going to grind on guys, you sometimes are going to have to pay them for it. And in this case, let's mark this down. I would guess that Gronkowski is being paid more than that number by the start of training camp if he is still with the Patriots.
Really?
If he's still playing for the Patriots. I say you're not going to trade him if he's still playing for the Patriots.
We'll see. Let's just let this thing play out.
So now we got a mutiny, and now we got a trade of Rob Gronkowski from Jeff Darlington.
All I'm saying is that
his hot takes are stronger than Brett hating Bob Dylan right
what
now.
What we need to remember here is that everybody is trying to create they're trying to decide. Fans out there are all trying to decide what's going to happen based on what they've seen before. When I think that it's very important for everybody to throw out assumptions and just let this thing play out and not just assume that Gronkowski is going to come back without getting paid. I'm not saying that's what it's about, but I think that there is this preconceived notion that the Patriot way will just continue to prosper.
We have 4 hours to fill. We can't just let things play out.
Yeah.
We got to fill it with assumptions.
Let me explain
and
how
the
this
fact
works.
that Jeff said that Gronk's going to get traded and there's a mutiny going on.
We've got that on the bottom line scroll. We're putting on the top of ESPN.com. It's going out as a blast news alert.
So let's go. We know you just messed around. Let's go with another pass catcher, Des Bryant. What's the market going to be for him? Not only by teams, but by money you think he can get a month after free agency started?
It hasn't been great. And, of course, you could argue, is it the Cowboys that did him a disservice by cutting him, or is it his agent who didn't have a signing bonus in his contract for the first day of free agency so that decision had to be made sooner, right? But there really isn't a great market for him right now. And whether it's I've talked to some general managers, some coaches, even some franchise quarterbacks about, like, you want this guy, you're gonna try to get him in the building, and there's really not a ton of sentiment in Dez's favor. And one quarterback told me that they feel like his ability at this point does not match some of the antics that you also have to deal with him. And a lot of times there's that sliding scale, like an Odell Beckham. It's like, yeah, we'll deal with that.
But you can get him on the cheap, though, can't you?
So that's the thing. Now it feels like you can get him on the cheap. So all of a sudden, a team like the Giants, who I thought would have to reserve all their money for Odell Beckham, maybe he's like, oh, wait, we can get him in. We can get him in for, I don't want to guess, but
a lot cheaper
less.
Than
$16.5 million. Yeah. Look, he was never making that dollar. Let's be clear about that.
And then
after what we've seen for the last few years, he was never going to make that.
Is he going to get 10 though now?
Like, I don't know. It's a great question.
So.
And the thought about the Giants, because he could be what they thought Brandon Marshall was going to be, which he isn't in New York. That would be an interesting thing.
And Dez is still, this is personal opinion. I spent some time with Dez, and he's like a fiery guy, but he's the most loyal soldier that you can get if you can get him into the right situation. So if there's a team out there that's looking at Dez Bryant saying, man, I don't know about those antics. Like, if you just think about your locker room and if it can handle it, if you have the veteran presence to handle it, this could be a bit of a steal for a team.
Look, when he broke his foot in the first game of the 2015 season, when Tony Romo had that great comeback against the Giants on the Sunday night game, he waited around without anything on that foot to go ahead and congratulate Tony on living that game-winning drive. Look, you love the passion of Dez because it, in many ways, translates into the positive things. But at the end of the day, he's a physical receiver, not a speed receiver, and he's been banged up the last few years. And you wonder, okay, how much longer can the body play at that physical level? It's more about that than anything else, right?
How about Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about Dez Bryant is like, he needs a quarterback who's going to put the ball exactly where it needs to be. Like,
so Dez will catch it now in Green Bay. Is what you're telling me. Dez will catch it now in Green Bay. That would be very interesting. And I can tell you that Aaron is looking around and saying, hey, guys,
it's time.
Help me out a little bit here. Help me out a little bit.
I don't have Jordy to throw to anymore. Give me someone.
Jimmy Graham and Dez Bryant.
Throw me a bone, please. Throw me a bone. Florida man, Jeff Darlington.
Hey, thanks, Jeff.
Always good to see you.
Appreciate it, man.
Let's golf next time.
Yeah. Well, it depends. We might get a foot. It's all my fault. I'm taking it. It's all my fault. I'm owning it. The yoke is on me.
Horrible human being.
That's also true. Coming up, an interesting theory on the slow start of one of the new kings of New York.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Winning at sports and at sports broadcasting means changing things up.
Just like La Quinta Inns and Suites is changing up their look.
A renovated lobby that's so contemporary it even makes Golic look cool.
Yes, it does. And a totally updated fitness center that even has Wingo feeling like a workout.
I'm ripped. Plus plenty of comfortable spaces to hang out.
Yep, this La Quinta look definitely has a vibe of victory.
So you can just relax, refresh, and get ready for your next big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com. Golic and Wingo with you on ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. So, all right, Mike, you and I know that we like to complain about the weather because I think we're going to go straight from winter to July 4th.
It is. Here. One day we're going to wake up, it's going to be 90 and humid, and we're going to complain about the humidity.
Yeah, exactly right.
And that's what we do, right?
That's what we do, right.
Yeah.
Andrew Brandt, who used to work for us and was, of course, a longtime front office guy with the Packers and does some great work, he always said when he got to Green Bay, the legendary Ron Wolf, who was the GM there, said there are two seasons in Green Bay, winter and 4th of July.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's sort of the way it is for the rest of us now. And that is actually having an adverse effect on Major League Baseball. There have been, 25 or 20 postponements, I think, already of games this year. I think there are 25 all of 2017. And attendance is way down. Now, a lot of that obviously is related to the weather, but, there was that White Sox home opener, for Bubble Boy's team.
Right.
Devon, where they said 9,000 people were paid tickets, but like 900 people showed up.
Right.
And we're having attendance really dip in baseball-driven cities like St. Louis. Mm-hmm. So you wonder how much of that is weather-related and how much of that is, a larger issue that baseball's going to have to deal with.
And you're also dealing with bad weather, dealing with some injuries from players as well. Playing in the cold weather and the bad weather, it's increasing the injuries. So, no bueno right now for baseball with that going on. But, Mother Nature's going to do what Mother Nature does. And Mother Nature's going to dump 20 inches of snow on Green Bay and going to dump 3 inches of rain here on us and be cold and unfortunately dump a lot of rain and wind and cold in Boston for the marathon. It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal what's going on.
Listen, the weather's so bad, we had a ice out in Toronto, and they have a dome.
Yeah, they have a dome, and the game was postponed because of ice.
Yeah, what happened was that was it the CNET Tower? Is that what it is? CN Tower. The CN Tower there next to it had ice, and it was falling off that building.
Yeah.
And they were afraid that people would get hurt walking into the Rogers Center. So, and by the way, let's be clear, that's a real thing. Remember Super Bowl 45 in Dallas?
Yes.
I mean, they had that freak snowstorm. And there was some ice that fell off the roof at Cowboy Stadium, and it killed a worker.
Yeah, it did.
So you do have to take an abundance of caution, but it is just crazy how the weather has affected the baseball schedule so far.
It's been horrible. It's been your fault.
It is all my fault, and that's fair. Mm-hmm. One thing that has not stopped in any way, shape, or form because of the weather is that's Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper did it last night again and did it with a broken bat.
Here's the pitch, swung on, a broken bat, fly ball to deep right center field. Nimmo back of the warning track at the wall. It is gone. Goodbye. He broke his bat, and he hit a home run. Unbelievable. Bang, zoom goes Bryce Harper. His Major League leading 8th home run of the year.
So he breaks his bat.
I just say real quick, that sounded a little bit like Brockmeyer.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Just a little bit like Brockmeyer.
Check it out.
Broke his bat.
Oh, the Nationals Radio Network. It was good stuff. There's a little Brockmeyer in every Major League play-by-play guy.
And as well there should be.
Those are a little Brockmeyer in every Major League play-by-play guy. But listening to that call, that's a broken bat, fly ball. It's still going. It's still going. It's still going. Bryce Harper is amazing. And it's funny, we talk about, Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge. Bryce Harper is still that dude. I mean, he's still the guy carrying that torch for the young players. He's actually 6 months younger than Aaron Judge, and he's doing all these things. And he's been doing it, for 5 years now?
Well, I mean, it's been like the Bryce Harper, Mike Trout thing, with the two best in the league. Certainly Aaron Judge jumping on there with what he's done just obviously last year, but over the last few years, it's been Trout and Harper who are still young players and doing what they're doing in the league. I still remember Bryce Harper, in high school, on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and
it's
what
a clown
he was doing.
Question, bro.
Yeah.
That's a clown question.
It's a clown question. Unreal though.
He's given us a lot early on in his career.
leading the league in home runs with 8. So I think, is he leading in RBIs as well? Yeah, 17 as well. I mean, he's having a monster beginning of the season, but we've certainly seen it before out of him. And we kept talking about, is he going to be that first $400 million contract? Because remember, Stanton got the $325. Boy, the way the money took a hit this past offseason, you're starting to think, okay, maybe that's not going to happen. He's going to be well compensated, but, we're looking for all-time numbers just because we can, and it ain't our money we're giving away.
And that's exactly right. And by the way, if there is a soft market for Bryce Harper next year, Major League Baseball is going to have a lot of explaining to do.
Yep.
A lot of explaining to do if there's a soft market for Bryce Harper. You mentioned that he's 6 months younger than Aaron Judge. Well, Aaron Judge did something last night as well.
Mm-hmm. Driven deep to right center field. There it goes. See ya. There's home run number 4. Yankees lead 3-0.
So that, of course, Michael Kay on the Yes Network.
His 60th career home run. He's now the fastest player from a games played standpoint to get to 60 home runs. That was his 197th game. Mark McGwire had been the fastest to 60 in 1988. He did it in his 202nd game. So my quick math says 5 fewer games.
Right.
202 minus 197. 5.
You nailed it.
All right. There you go.
Notre Dame. Well done.
Well, I went to Notre Dame.
Yeah. The other thing, too, about Harper, I mean, look at it. In 15 games in April, 313, 833 slugging percentage, 507 on-base percentage, 8 home runs, 15 RBI, 20 walks, and 11 Ks.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Not bad at all.
And he's 6 months younger than Aaron Judge. He's been doing this for a while.
Doing it for a while, yeah.
He's still going to keep going. Giancarlo Stanton has had his moments, but they have not been as consistent as the Yankees would like him to be, obviously, for what they thought when they made the deal.
More of the moments have been strike 3, going back to the bench.
Platinum sombrero twice already, which has never happened before in a single season. He did it in 10 games, which is 5 strikeouts, no hits in a game. But there may be a reason, Mike, and it's sort of an odd one when you look at it on surface as to why Giancarlo may be struggling.
Yeah.
And you're struggling with this maybe being the reason.
Kind of. I mean, okay, so
this is from the New York Times, by the way.
Moving to a new city. He's leasing an apartment there, and Basically, it seems he's having trouble getting the furniture there.
Okay.
There's still the furniture hasn't yet arrived. There's still some repairs and upgrades that need to be done. He's dealing with a lot of that. He's had to stay in the hotel some nights, and when he's not playing ball, he's dealing with some of that. And he was asked, in Boston last Tuesday, if he had been trying to do too much at the plate. He said, no, I just felt like there's a lot going on. Focusing on maybe too many things, but not trying too hard, I don't think. And he actually was asked then about, is setting up your place a distraction? He said, I'm not going to make any excuses. So,
well, good for him saying I'm not going to make any excuses.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And could that be it? I mean, Stanton is worrying about the furniture, and listen, the easy thing to sit there and say, oh, why doesn't he have his assistant? Not everybody has an assistant,
yes.
And people around him. Some people just do their own thing.
Pay for an assistant.
Yeah.
You have the spare change.
It sounds like he's doing a lot of this on his own instead of, and that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that, to do that at all.
But to the point of, the hotel being the issue, he stays in a hotel on the road, right?
Oh, yeah.
So hold on. Here it is. We broke it down.
Okay.
The great researcher Brett has come up with this. On the home stands, 3 of 28, 16 strikeouts, 214 slugging percentage. On the road, when he's always in a hotel room, 10 of 31, 9 strikeouts, 677 slugging percentage.
I see where we should go here.
Can't say it's about the hotel stay.
What he should do is just stay in a hotel.
There it is. Well, wasn't Robbie Alomar? It was also Robbie Alomar when he was with the Blue Jays. He lived at Skydome Hotel, right?
Yeah.
He never left the hotel.
How great is that?
He never left the hotel the whole time he was there.
And if you want a different place, there's plenty of extended stay hotels, that have the nice kitchenette in there, and things like that.
In fact, you could do that at La Quinta, and you could win at business.
See, there you go.
There you go.
Uh-huh.
So we'll have a little bit there on that. Plus, we've got feuding voicemails, Michael. Feuding voicemails at our voicemail line, 860-506-5505.
Okay.
We'll hear those.
Next. You're holding up the line, ma'am.
What did you say?
You're next in line for the water slide, ma'am. Feet forward and enjoy the ride.
Okay, dearie. This does look fun. Whee-oh! You melted me. I've melted.
The Wicked Witch of the West on a water slide? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
See what you've done. Oh!
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
The best is how creative we get with crotch nicknames. The radio call, they said Draymond got kicked in the Little Warriors.
Insert team nickname. Does it work for all of them?
The Little Heat?
The Little Raptors.
Oh, the Little Knicks.
The Little Knicks.
Oh man.
Little Rockets.
Not really good.
The Little Rockets.
The Little Magic.
Ooh. Oh, wait, did we seriously skip the best one? Did I miss the Little Nuggets?
That was definitely the winner, no doubt about it. Golic and Wingo, presented by Progressive Insurance, with insurance for cars, home, boat, motorcycles, RVs, and commercial vehicles at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com.
All right, as we continue here on Golic and Wingo, we are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Look, we have asked you guys to be our Stanley Cup playoff correspondents via our voicemail line, 860-506-5505. Some of you have listened to that. Jason Fitz, who does Fitz in Spain. Is it Spain and Fitz or Fitz in Spain?
It'd be Spain and Fitz.
Spain and Fitz, yes. And also is in here occasionally. Is obviously from Nashville, a huge Predators fan. Well, some people don't care about him being a huge Predators fan.
Hey guys, this is Dylan from Denver, Colorado. After squeaking by in Nashville, the Avalanche dominated the Preds 5-3 with Nathan McKinnon netting 2 goals and showing that this series is all but over. Better luck next time, Fitz.
So Dylan from Denver says this series is all but over when the Predators lead 2-1.
I was just going to say, the Predators lead the series 2-1. I mean, how is this over?
Yeah. It sounded like he was confident that his team would win, though.
Yeah, it certainly did.
That they were down 2 games.
Oh, anything but over, he said.
All right, I got you.
Well,
we both took that the same way.
We did. We did.
Okay, so Jason Fitz obviously has something to say about that.
Hey guys, it's Fitz here. Nothing to see here with the Nashville Predator game. The important takeaway is that Pekka Rinne wanted to make sure that backup goaltender UC Saros got some quality playing time. That's really the only thing you need to know about the game. So let's go Predators.
By the way,
that was a half-hearted call.
Yeah, that really was.
It didn't sound convicted.
Well, yeah, because they lost, so he couldn't get too crazy. By the way, Avalanche, they snapped a 12-game losing streak to the Preds. So
wow.
They hadn't beaten them since, end of March of 2016. So a nice win for them, and the series obviously is not over, but Predators are up in that series 2-1.
Although the best thing about the entire playoff run right now, so far, from a big picture perspective, you don't have a team in the race, which we understand, would absolutely be what the Vegas Golden Knights are doing. I mean, it's just unbelievable. After the expansion inaugural season that they had, and then they have a chance to sweep in their first ever playoff series. Just unbelievable going forward. So
I haven't been in the arena there yet. I certainly hope to. Are there any slot machines or tables in the arena? I still am pushing for that. I'm sure there isn't, because I'm sure they won't allow that. I've said that when the Raiders in that stadium, the suite should have, blackjack tables in it. I mean, seriously, why not? To me. Yeah, why wouldn't you? I mean, but really, how is playing blackjack that we're not gambling on the game?
Correct.
Nobody's taking a bet on the game.
No,
We're playing blackjack.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you in any way,
the
shape,
most you're
or
saying
form.
is hit me.
And that's something that happens on the field anyway.
Well, there you go.
So it all comes together.
There you go.
You know who's not saying hit me or sue me? That would be LeBron James. Now, LeBron James, for those that may not remember, took great umbrage.
Umbrage.
Very underrated word, by the way. Took umbrage with the fact that Alabama, on their website, had a show called Shop Talk, which basically is about Crimson Tide players hanging out in a barbershop and getting their hair cut and talking about stuff that went on in and around the Alabama football program.
Right.
So LeBron said, whoa, hold on a minute now, because on Uninterrupted we had the shop, and we patented that, and you guys, you better step off, or we're going to get the lawyers involved.
Right.
Well, guess what? Someone else has said something to LeBron, and they have to deal with this now. Which is
I'm sorry. I thought you were playing. Yeah, it's Adventure Enterprises is saying that they got a letter they sent a letter. The lawsuit is seeking an injunction that would cease the production of future episodes of The Shop, as well as a serious monetary compensation. So what basically Adventure Enterprises is saying is, we worked with LeBron and the group from Uninterrupted for a couple of years on developing something like this.
Right.
And then we were cast aside, and lo and behold, here comes this show. And we're like, wait a minute.
Yeah. We worked with you
on the show, and now we're no longer part of it with you. And the show has come out, and no, we find that to be a violation, and we want some money for that.
And it's interesting. I'll be curious to see whether or not there were conversations and what legal protections this Venture Enterprises did to sort of protect themselves, because LeBron and stuff do have a patent on this.
Yes, they do.
They do have a patent. But remember, he invoked that patent when he saw Shop Talk on the Crimson Tide website, and he was very vocal about this. Hey, you know what? We built this platform for ourselves, and we're going to defend it. So now LeBron was asked about someone attacking his platform, and this is what he said.
The lawyers will figure it out.
Yeah.
Sort of offhanded.
By the way, real quickly, Alabama changed the name. They do not call it Shop Talk anymore. They call it Bama Cuts.
Yeah.
Like Bama guys getting their haircuts or whatever. So they changed the name. As far as a source close to James and Maverick Carter told ESPN on Monday, the company sought a payment, the company being Adventure Enterprises, the company sought a payment 8 months ago and were told their claim was ridiculous, and they disappeared. They clearly saw the media around the University of Alabama story and saw an opportunity for a publicity stunt. And now the lawsuit that's against Uninterrupted by this group is acknowledging that basically Adventure Enterprises received an apology from Uninterrupted and assurances it was a one-time deal and wouldn't happen again. There have been 2 episodes and a third is on the way, so it wasn't a one-time deal. So lawyers will get involved in this, LeBron, and we'll see if LeBron is going to owe Adventure Enterprises anything.
Look, at the end of the day, yes, if you go out and vocally say, hey, this is ours, and we're going to try and shut down this other thing based on legal things, of course somebody that you dislike is saying, whoa, hold on a second. You might want to handle our situation first before you go after someone else. That's just the way this goes. So again, LeBron says,
the lawyers will figure it out.
You know what? They will, because one thing we can count on is billable hours. Coming up, are growing pains just part of the process, and is LeBron really going to be asked to do more? Stephen A. will join us next. Stay with us.
Ryan, I I don't know how else to say this, so I'll just say it.
What is it, Linda?
I think we should see other people.
Are you breaking up with me? On a roller coaster?
Well, we do have a lot of fun. Maybe we should stay together.
An emotional roller coaster? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
I just need a little me time.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15%.
Time for an oil change? Head to Jiffy Lube. We've got you covered. We've also got you covered when it comes to oil changes, thanks to Pennzoil Synthetic Motor Oil, getting you back on the road in a jiffy. Jiffy Lube. Leave worry behind.
We wish nothing but the best for our very next guest.
Yes.
I'm telling you right now, the New York Knicks, you could take this as a threat if you want to.
Do you not understand how disgusted New Yorkers have become? We're sick and tired of it. The losing, the ineptitude, the dysfunctionality.
We're tired of it. We're just tired of it. We can't take it anymore. I'm not playing.
Well, who's going to be in front of those microphones every day? Who's going to be speaking to New Yorkers? Who's going to be galvanizing the troops that live in New York City that are looking for every excuse under the sun to legitimately support the Knicks? Who's going to make you believe?
Well, we like to be subtle here on Golic.
Nobody matches that energy, I'll tell you that much.
That is our subtle way of Stephen A. Smith from First Take, and the Stephen A. Smith Show joins us. And Stephen, before we get into anything else, I just want to say, and Golic's heard me say this about 100 times already, I one day in my life want to care about one thing as much as you seem to care about anything. And it's impressive, and a tip of the cap to you, sir.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I can't believe that what y'all just played. I didn't know I sounded that bad, but damn it, I don't care because that's how I feel. These Knicks, I mean, they've taken years off of my life. I'm so disgusted with them. They better get this right. That's all I know. They better get this right.
Okay, well, let's start there then before we get to the games. Let's start there. We know the list of names being interviewed. You're saying they better get it right. In your opinion, what is right?
I think Mark Jackson needs to be the next head coach for the New York Knicks. I think it's very, very simple. Jerry Stackhouse got a lot of promise, and I think that he'll do a great job whenever he becomes an NBA coach. They're about to interview him. Doc Rivers is established. He's been in Boston. He's been in Orlando. He's been with the Clippers. But in the same breath, again, you know, he may stay with the Clippers. But I think that someplace other than New York, you need a native New Yorker. I like David Fizdale a lot. He got hosed in Memphis. I think he'll end up landing someplace. I'm not going to sniff at any of those guys who get selected, but the best candidate for this job is Mark Jackson, and it's not because of just the coaching. Mark Jackson could coach, there's no question. Doc Rivers has proven he could coach. David Fizdale has proven he could coach. None of them, I believe, has the cachet to deal with New York and James Dolan the way Mark Jackson is. And that's what this comes down to. Mark Jackson is a guy, New York native, Queens native, former star at St. John's, rookie of the year with the New York Knicks. And more importantly, when he speaks, you believe him. And that matters because when you're dealing with an ownership like James Dolan, something has to give. It's not just about basketball. It's about the business of Madison Square Garden putting its tentacles on the basketball and hockey and everything in between, and it's been problematic for a bevy of coaches and executives that have come through this franchise, and it's proven to be too much for anybody to take because you ultimately elevate the level of indifference that becomes associated with this franchise. You just get to a point where you don't give a damn because it's helpless because James Dolan is there. Mark Jackson has the ability to eradicate all of that because he's the kind of person that can rally folks in New York and to get them to believe in something other than James Dolan ineptitude. And I think that's important. It's not just about basketball. It's about a spokesperson that isn't a player, somebody that's the face of the franchise that you have to listen to every single day. Steve Mills can't do that for you. Scott Perry, the GM, can't do that to you. Carmelo Anthony, when he was the star of the team, couldn't do that for you, nor can any player. It has to be the coach. And I believe that right man is Mark Jackson.
Stephen A. Smith with us. But to that point, Stephen A., dealing with James Dolan, is there anybody, do you think, that can actually do that effectively because of the track record we've seen?
I think that Mark Jackson is our last hope, to believe it or not. And I really mean that. I mean, listen, when Phil Jackson comes here, as great as Phil Jackson was, he was an 11-time champion. When you're falling asleep in practices, when your definition of a road trip is to be in L.A., okay, and or Montana, come on now. That's not somebody that's going to get the job done. This is an 11-time champion that couldn't even get Kevin Durant to sit down with him and have dinner. That's how bad it was. That needed Carmelo Anthony to try and recruit players and to let them know, send him word that they weren't thinking about coming to New York. That's not going to get it done. And so when you look at it from that perspective, it's just about having somebody that New Yorkers can rally around to make James Dolan uncomfortable enough to sit up there and say, okay, we're going to flow in this direction. This coach, I got the president that I want. He's got the GM that he wanted. Now to have a face of the organization that New Yorkers will give the benefit of the doubt to is incredibly important in this particular situation. The New York Knicks job is not just a basketball coaching job. It is far more than that. And Steve Mills has got to recognize that when he selects the next head coach of this franchise.
Talking to Stephen A. Smith, obviously First Take co-host, also with his own show on Stephen A. Smith Show, which today at 1:05 Eastern he will have Adam Silver on the show. So let's stay again off the court again before we go on. Kawhi Leonard not going to be playing in this playoff. San Antonio will be out of the playoffs soon. But looking forward, Kawhi Leonard, how much longer is he in San Antonio, and where would be a landing spot, do you think, when we all eventually think he'll be gone?
Believe it or not, it's looking bad right now. It's looking like he could end up being gone. I look at the San Antonio Spurs, and in terms of their body language, they're just apparent disposition. You just could feel this is a team that I believe feels betrayed by Kawhi Leonard. They're not going to say that. They're not going to admit it, but I get the impression when you have a players meeting spearheaded by Tony Parker and they're asking you, are you coming back or not? Why are you having that meeting if you truly, truly believe a guy is hurt and can't play? Clearly you have questions as to whether or not he can play. Clearly you believe that there's something inside of him that could have given you something for this postseason. And the fact that he didn't do that, I think resonates. Steven Jackson coming on the air, former champion with the San Antonio Spurs. Some of those guys he played with, including Ginobili and Tony Parker. He said it for a fact. There's no way those guys approached Kawhi Leonard the way that they did without Popovich's okay. So Popovich had to give the okay. That's what he said. And then you saw Popovich last night. Did you hear how he raved about LaMarcus Aldridge? Listen to the words that he said. He doesn't complain. He just goes out there, no matter the situation or circumstances. He just goes out there and does his job and doesn't say a word. I don't think people will really appreciate what this man has had to work, what conditions this man has worked under this season, and he's just been an absolute joy and an absolute pleasure. You could hear that and hear him praising LaMarcus Aldridge. I also heard him basically saying, I wish that other players were like that. And that's what I got. That's what I got from it. So I think it speaks volumes.
It certainly does. Sometimes what you don't say, sometimes this is just as important as what you do say. So, Stephen A., with that in mind, how intertwined might this offseason be between Kawhi Leonard and LeBron James about where they may go and how that affects where someone else may go or where they may go together?
Man, who knows? I mean, with LeBron James, he's always got a plan, and we all know that. And him teaming with Kawhi, I certainly wouldn't rule it out definitively. What I will say is that people have to capitulate. People have to help out. And I got to wonder, how many people would be willing to do that. The Lakers clearly would be willing to do it if they could. But remember, Kawhi is under contract. He's not a free agent. So it'd have to be a trade that's facilitated in order to get him on board. Boston has assets. Philadelphia has assets. The Lakers have money, but how much assets do they have? You don't want to give up a Kyle Kuzma, Randall, Ingram, or whatever. You want to keep those guys intact, but you should be willing to give up at least a couple of those guys in order to get the caliber of a player like Kawhi Leonard, especially if it could also mean bringing LeBron on board as well. So you just can't rule out anything. Magic Johnson will have to work his magic. There's no question about it. And I got my eyes on the Lakers for this reason. You've got LeBron and Paul George in 2018. You've got Kawhi, you've got Kyrie, you've got Klay Thompson, Jimmy Butler in 2019. As far as I'm concerned, Magic Johnson had better get one, if not two of those players by 2019. And that's just the way I look at things right now.
All right, Stephen, on the court last night, we saw Miami get the road win. Dwayne Wade turn back the hands of time a little bit, have a big night in just 25 minutes. Joel Embiid didn't play, went to Instagram in his story and got a little profanity in there as well on how he thinks he's being treated there. How do you think this one plays out in this series?
I think that ultimately you'll see Joel Embiid back in the lineup. Yes, the Sixers are protective, but again, this is not his knee. This is not his foot. This is his eye. You got a mask for a reason, and the guy wants to play, and he wants to play badly. And if he believes the eye has improved enough where he should be allowed to play, it's something that he's going to push towards. If the Philadelphia 76ers had won last night, I think the possibility of him being in the lineup would be significantly dissipated. But because of the fact that they lost to Miami, and the series is now tied 1-1 going back to Miami, especially if Miami wins Game 3 on Thursday night, I think you could find yourself looking at a situation where Joel Embiid probably will be back by Saturday, regardless of what they say, because the Sixers have looked terrific. They won 17 straight, 16 to end the regular season, plus Game 1 before losing last night. And they went from being a team that was just happy to be there to a team legitimately with championship expectations by virtue of looking at the Eastern Conference. If you sit down Joel Embiid when the dude is crying to play, and it doesn't have anything to do with his lower extremities as it pertains to his health, there is no reason why you shouldn't take a chance and put him in this series. He wants to play. He swears he's ready to play, and they need to put him back in there.
Well, right, but they also have to make sure that he's protected from himself, because, Stephen, every player wants to play. I mean, that's why you have the medical staff to make sure these guys aren't rushed back too soon.
Well, there's plenty of times where you've seen guys with broken noses, orbital bones, et cetera, put on a mask and get out there and play. It wouldn't be the first. Secondly, if he gets hurt again, the season is over. But in the same breath, you've got the entire offseason to get him ready for next year. Again, if it's your knee or your ankle or your foot rather, which is derailed him in the past, that would be different. But again, with the mask being able to protect that orbital bone, along with the fact that it's the importance of the playoffs, this is what you play for. And I'm not saying you just put him out there just because he says he's ready. But if you've been contemplating when to bring him back, and let's say, for example, you said, okay, he's going to sit out the first round. That means you had every intention of him being ready by the second round. Well, the second round might be a week to 10 days later. So you let him come back 10 days earlier. I think that's a chance you take for an orbital bone that can be covered by a mask. My personal opinion.
It's Stephen A. with us on Golic and Wingo. So let's talk more about the game itself, Game 3 in Miami. Look, this is the most pressure-packed game that the Sixers are going to play in, 5, 6, 7 years? It's been a long time.
Yep.
And how much do we actually put into that 16-game winning streak just to end the regular season? Because take Game 1 of the playoffs out of it, because obviously that's a quality opponent. Because they fattened up on those 16 games with a combined winning percentage of .437, the equivalent of a 35 or 36 win team. So how much do we really buy into that, and how much of that is them getting hot against an inferior opponent?
Before I watched Game 1 of this series against Miami, I would have told you not much. But watching them in Game 1 against Miami, here's why I've rethought it a bit. I watched the Philadelphia 76ers, and you forget Redick, Covington, Bellinelli, Zarek. These guys can really shoot the basketball, and this kid Anderson coming off the bench, and Markelle Fultz as well. So you've got 5 guys that can shoot perimeter shots, 6 guys that can score, with a 6'10" point guard. Without Joel Embiid on the floor, they beat Miami by 27, and it wasn't just because of the three. The biggest reason is because they can defend. They really, really get up in you. And that's the big thing watching them right now. You watch the Philadelphia 76ers, and you say, my goodness, I didn't realize how well they can defend the basketball. And they have size at every position outside of J.J. Redick on the floor. They literally can put guys 6'5", 6'6", and above on the court at every single position to defend. And when you can do that in the playoffs, you always have a chance. And that's why I give Philadelphia credit where credit is due in that regard. They are legitimate because they can defend.
All right, Steven, tomorrow, Cleveland get game 2 against the Pacers, already down 1-0 at home, losing the home game. LeBron doesn't take a shot in the first quarter. Certainly we've seen him start games before where he tries to get everybody else involved and nobody hit a shot. Lou wants him to get more aggressive. How do you see the rest of this series playing out? I see LeBron get aggressive. Listen, if one thing you got to give LeBron credit for the most part, with the exception of a poor performance against the Boston Celtics back in 2010 before he decided to take his talents to South Beach. With the exception of that, and I guess it was a Game 3 of the NBA Finals against Dallas, he usually goes down swinging. He'll get his. And I think this is one of those situations where he's completely comfortable in his own skin. He's a 3-time champion, has been to 7 consecutive NBA Finals. You know, he's recognized universally as the best player in the world. I think he's one of those guys that's like, okay, this team might not be good enough, but I'm going to get mine, and I'm going to go down swinging. And I think that's what's going to happen. The Indiana Pacers might be on par with the Cleveland Cavaliers, but they don't have LeBron. They got a star in Oladipo who has arrived. Make no mistake about that. But he's not LeBron. And I think you're going to see LeBron ultra aggressive tonight, reminding the world as to why he's the best in the world. And I think he's going to come out, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if he had another triple-double tonight, except this time instead of 24 points, it'll be more like 44.
Well, that would be exactly what Ty Lue would be looking for. Stephen A. Smith with us from First Take in the Stephen A. Smith Show. Stephen A., again, you'll have Commissioner Adam Silver on with you at 1:05 today. What's the one thing you want to get out of the commissioner today?
Well, you know, this whole tanking issue, listen, I have been adamantly opposed or vehemently opposed to the whole process in Philadelphia. It disgusts me when people even bring it up. But you're going to have situations where teams are looking at the Philadelphia 76ers and they want to know what's the disincentive for tanking, because look at how it's working out for them. And so that's one of the issues that I'm going to talk to them about. There's a bevy of issues that I intend to talk to them about, but that's certainly one of them, and I'm looking forward to having the commissioner on my show.
All right, Stephen A., we look forward to hearing that later on today on ESPN Radio. Thanks for being with us, my friend.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Everyone in the neighborhood knew about Bobby. Bobby, the basketball boy, they called him. Bobby wanted to go pro someday, so he was always out in the driveway shooting hoops. But one day, his mom came out and told him,
"Hey, your wife wants you to take out the trash?"
His mom was visiting, and Bobby was a grown man. He had kind of missed his window. Plus, no one had ever seen him actually make a basket. But on the other hand, Bobby had heard how Geico could save him money on car insurance, so he switched and saved. So it was all good.
Golic and Wingo with you, ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. A little hit of the good stuff. You ready? Getting closer and closer to the start of the NFL Draft next week in Dallas. We will be there Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday doing the show. And, of course, I'll be hosting the draft all 3 days, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Always a lot of fun. You never know what's going to happen. And, look, I think it's no secret that you and I love football for a variety of reasons. It was a sport that you played growing up, and you got to see your sons play. And I never played it much past the early parts, but I enjoy the sport for a lot, and I got to see my son play as well. So, it's the only true, to me, and this is going to get people crazy, but to me it's the only true team sport there is. Because you got to have 11 guys on one side of the ball pulling together, and if one guy breaks down, then the whole play can go haywire. And you don't take my word for it. Take the recently retired Paul Posluszny's word for it, because he decided to retire after 11 years, the last 4 in Jacksonville, and of course that means his last game ever was the AFC Championship game up in Foxborough, where the Jags had a chance in that game to potentially beat New England and head on to the Super Bowl, and they came up just a few plays short. And in announcing his retirement, this is what Posluszny had to say. I love the game too much, and I respect it too much not to be able physically to do everything that I've done in years past. If that's a year too early, I'll regret it, but I'd rather be a year too early than one play too late. And Mike, he went on to expand about what he meant by one play too late.
Well, this is about having ownership of your play in comparison and respect to your teammates. He said, I've got Miles Jack and Telvin Smith out there at the linebacking position. I owe it to them to be in the place I need to be.
Right.
For everybody's job to get done right, we all have a job. The D-line is where I played. I have a gap. Whether it's the B gap, the A gap, whatever gap I have as far as the rushing, I can't let the running back go through that gap. If I do, that's my fault, and I've let everybody else down. When I rush, I have a gap I have to rush. I have to maintain that integrity. If I don't, and the quarterback runs out that way, that's on me. Paul is saying I have a responsibility to be at certain places on the field, and if I can't get there, I'm letting my teammates down. I don't want to do that. So I'd rather not play another year, even though I think I can play, than be late on one play. To miss one play to hurt my teammates. That is the epitome of a teammate. That is the epitome of relying on one another. I'll go back and I'll say it again. The great John Hanna, one of the great offensive linemen to play in this game, played for the Patriots, was a Hall of Famer, and was a psychopath on the field.
Right.
My brother played with him when my brother got drafted by New England. Said this dude was a nutcase on the O-line. Very, very aggressive and a great offensive lineman. Had him on air and asked him, what his motivation was when he played and got that crazy. He said, fear. And I was stunned. And I said, wow, fear? You're feared. What do you fear? And he said, letting down my teammates. That's
right.
My greatest fear, is to letting down the guy next to me. And that Paul is saying, I would rather retire than have that possibility of letting down that guy next to me. That's what it means to these guys.
It does, and I think I love that you bring up Hanna, because there's another great offensive lineman who did the same thing. Is Gary Zimmerman, the only player on the all-'80s team, all-decade team of the 80s and the 90s. And our good friend Stink, Mark Schlereth, used to tell the story whenever they broke the huddle after every play, because Zimmerman was the left tackle and Stink was the left guard. They just called the play in the huddle, and as they're walking to the line, Zimmerman would go to Stink, okay, what's my responsibility? What's my responsibility? He was that hyped about messing up and hurting the offensive line in general and letting down the teammate next to him. That's what it means to be in the locker room and be part of this, and be part of this process that starts, quite frankly, right now in just off-season workouts. Then you build the OTAs and mini camps and training camp and preseason and the regular season. And whatever that was that drove John Hanna or Gary Zimmerman or Paul Posluszny, their teammates felt it.
Right.
And they picked up on it and they respected it. This is Telvin Smith, one of the linebackers that was in that position room with Paul Posluszny and was there with him when he announced his retirement, about what the effort and the mindset Paul Posluszny meant to him.
I've never met a better man than you. I've never had a better teammate than you. I don't think I've ever been able to say someone loved me who I didn't do something for than you. And I promise you, I won't let you down. And I feel like that last game, we let you down. So I dedicate this next season to you. And I promise you I'm going to lay it down and give everything I got, because you and the legacy that you left in so many lives and so many of us players that are sitting here right now, I promise you don't even understand.
And let me be honest, it's all not like that. Not every retirement is like that.
No.
You get other guys crying. It's not all like that. But man, when you see it, and Paul Posluszny isn't a player who went to Jacksonville and said, I'm going to teach these guys how to play. I'm going to do things for them so they'll end up saying this about me. He just did his thing.
He wanted to do his job.
He just played with a broken hand. He just played with a split nose. He just played with a torn pectoral. He just played. He did what he had done all his life. He just played, and the way he played and the way he went about his business showed younger players how to go about their business. That's the best teacher out there, is to see a veteran who does it the right way and just follow that lead. It doesn't always have to be verbal. That's why I said you don't have to have a rah-rah guy and say, that's my leader.
Because if it's not that way, it'll be picked up on his face.
It has to be a natural thing, and Paul's a guy you just naturally follow. You follow his lead, and that's what Telvin Smith is talking about. And when you get that, it's magical, man. When you get it, it's just, I can only speak of relationships I had, personally for me, especially in Philadelphia, where I spent the most time, and Friday, unfortunately, going to bury my defensive line coach, Dale Hopp, when a bunch of us meet in Raleigh for his funeral. But with Dale and all the guys that I played with, I mean, there was such a bond. There was a friendship. There was the football aspect of it. This was before free agency, so we were together for a while as well. And there was a friendship as well. And there was a learning curve. And there was just, in this together, what can we do for one another? And I love hearing what Telvin is talking about and what Paul meant to him. And Paul just went about his business and played ball. And you understand, the love and the support and the camaraderie that goes on. I mean, that's why when a season ends, whether it's good or bad, I mean, you just see hugs out there. There's hugs of joy. There's hugs of just despair of, man, we put all this work in and we either got to where we wanted to go or we didn't. And there's a lot of emotion in it. And for a guy walking away, and to be that self-aware, because players are usually the last to recognize it. Normally they can kind of feel, well, maybe I don't have it, but I can make up for it another way. I can keep playing. And I mean, for Paul to say, I'd rather not play another year so I don't mess up a play, to realize he still could have more in him, but maybe not enough to be what he needs to be on the field. That is some self-awareness. And that, quite honestly, is a rarity for an athlete to understand their mortality in a sport or what they want to accomplish on the field.
Well, and it speaks to everything that we talk about when players retire, because they always say, I could go out there and give you one more game. But it's all the other stuff that leading up to it.
It's everything.
It's the practices.
Now.
Yes, it's all that stuff.
I always say guys retire. A lot of it is now. Guys will always want to put the uniform on Sunday and play. I'd still go do it now and give you 3 plays before I got destroyed, broken in half and torn apart.
Right.
But I'd put on the uniform and try it. But you don't want to go through the off season, that work that you have to go through to get ready for that season. The games turn out to be the easy, fun part of the whole thing, of all the culmination of all the work that you put into it. And that's what guys just don't want to go through because they don't have the desire to go through it anymore. And they know if they don't go through it the same way, that they're going to play worse, the potential of injury, and just flat out it can embarrass yourself.
And speaking to that point, whenever players retire, and either they go on to do their thing, or so many of them come here, and I work with so many of them on NFL Live over 15 years, they always say, the one thing I miss more than anything, but it was the camaraderie in the locker room.
Always.
It's not even close.
I've said it
it's not even close.
You ask a guy why he retired and what he'll miss most. And the why is going to be, don't want to do what's necessary to do when nobody is looking to get me ready for the season, because you always love game day. And what do you miss the most? Normally the answer is a very short word or 2 words, the locker room.
Right.
Meaning, I miss the guys. Yeah. I miss the fellas. I miss that camaraderie. And it is something special. And it's something that's very difficult to recreate anywhere else, because rarely are you with that person or that group of people for as long as you are during a year, or maybe, or a season. And then obviously if you play a bunch of years together as well.
Yeah, it is remarkable to a man. It just missed the hangout. They always say, that's what I miss. And there's what you just said is exactly right. You can try, but you'll never get that same feeling anywhere else, no matter what you're doing.
Right.
And that's the hardest thing, I think, for a lot of these guys to realize. That part of it is gone forever. We'll see what happens, and we wish Paul Posluszny all the best in his retirement.
And I was disgusted that we actually paid money for The Shape of Water.
13 Academy Award nominations, leading all the numbers.
The dumbest movie of all time. I gotta watch a girl who can't speak and a fish man.
Yes. No,
I gotta watch that.
Spoilers, man. Come on.
Spoiler alert. I didn't say the word. I don't know why they beat.
You said the word.
Golic and Wingo.
You didn't say fudge.
That's Joel Embiid. Golic and Wingo, presented by Progressive Insurance. Commercial insurance through Progressive protects your business and your dream. Choose from over 30 coverage options at progressivecommercial.com. I have something for you.
All right. Well, we'll get to that in a minute.
All right.
Hold on. But we want to do this?
Okay.
Want to do this first?
What?
All right, Stanzik is telling me we've got to do this first before your stat. Well, I don't know why.
What?
It's building the drama for your stat, apparently.
Okay.
It's all co and work together.
Okay.
There was only one current NFL head coach that did not play college football. I got him on my third guess. Can you name him? So we'll give you 3 guesses.
I have no idea.
Throw out some names.
Sean McVay.
No, incorrect. But I think that's the right path to go down, right? That's the right. You're on the right sort of thought process there.
Hugh Jackson.
Incorrect. Right. What do Hugh Jackson and Sean McVay have in common?
I don't know. Pete Carroll. I'm just trying to get the three names to get over it, so you can just tell me who it is.
You were closest with Sean McVay.
Okay.
Young.
Okay.
Quarterback kind of guru, offensive mind.
Adam Gase?
There it is.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you had listened to the clue more specifically that I gave you, you might have gotten it.
That has nothing to do with what I'm going to tell you right now. I don't know why this had to be first.
I'm just listening to Stanton.
No idea why it had to be first.
Because we teased it.
Oh, whatever. Yeah, you're right. Like everything we tease, that's the first thing we do when we come back.
Yeah. By the way, Adam Gase is the only current head coach who did not play college football, played high school football, then went to Michigan State, where his high school coach recommended him for a role helping the coaching staff. And that's how he met Nick Saban, who gave him his first job.
How about that? I want to play football. Well,
let me introduce you to the coaches.
Yeah, there you go.
Let me just say, Adam, we have something in common.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, continue.
All right, so we're talking about Paul Posluszny retiring.
Yes.
Somebody tweeted this, so this is kudos to Joe. If you go to the 2006 Penn State roster,
all right, let's do that,
and look at the linebackers. Don't even bother. Here's the.
Can I guess?
Go ahead.
LeVar Arrington?
No,
not there.
4 linebackers, 4 on the roster.
Dan Connor.
Yeah.
Paul Posluszny.
I'm
trying to think. 2006.
Sean Lee. Navarro Bowman.
Dang.
I mean, are you kidding me?
Dang. That is good.
That's why linebacker you, man. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Wow. That is very, very good.
That is an impressive roster right there.
Now, I'm wondering how long Sean Lee did he play that much and that year, because I mean, he had just sort of be starting there, right? Because I think he was his rookie year.
Well, look at Navarro Bowman was a freshman that year.
Yeah.
Dan Connor was a junior that year. Then you have Sean Lee was a sophomore.
All right.
And Posluszny was a senior.
Wow. That's pretty good.
That's pretty impressive, isn't it?
That's one of the many reasons, by the way, that you got the nickname of linebacker U.
There you go.
Posluszny was the leading tackler with 116. Dan Connor second with 113. Sean Lee third with 89.
And we said Navarro Bowman, I think, was a freshman on that team.
He was getting ready to contribute.
That is incredible.
That is an amazing.
Good job, Joe. Thanks for that tweet. That's impressive.
That is as good as it gets.
So again, we've had James Harrison retire, Posluszny, and Nick Mangold mentioned his retirement. Now, Nick hasn't played in 2 years.
Right.
Former first-round pick of the Jets, but he is officially retired as well.
So when I say to you in your totality, because obviously Posluszny he's a grinder. That's who he was. He was a grinder. What would you say if the first word that pops into your head when you say James Harrison is what?
It would have something to do with strength. Just powerful.
His workouts are ridiculous.
Powerful. That was his game.
Yeah.
His game was power.
It's funny to me. I'll always think of him as sort of a guy that just never quit, because he was cut, I think, 5 times.
Yeah.
By both the Ravens and the Steelers.
Yeah, he had a road.
Combined.
There's no doubt about it.
I mean, it wasn't like, this is James Harrison. He's this freak of nature. Congratulations, he's going to play. I mean, when he went up to be the 2008 Defensive Player of the Year, I mean, he had been cut at, I think, sometimes the last cut several years in a row.
Yep.
So, there is something to be said for, if you have a dream, stick with it as long as you can until someone says no.
Yeah.
And then the thing about Mangold, which again, he announced his retirement today, but he didn't play at all last year, and he missed the last few games of the 2016 season. He made 7 Pro Bowls.
7 Pro Bowls, 2-time first-team All-Pro, 1-time second team.
Yeah, but the thing about him, the only other drafted Jet player that ever made 7 Pro Bowls was Darrelle Revis. So that's the level we're talking about here that Mangold was able to produce. And I put it out there on Twitter today. If you want to Google the word center, the first picture that should come up would be Nick Mangold.
Shows up
with the long hair
out of Ohio
and the
State,
beard,
got that caveman look.
And somebody said, "Well, that's really all offensive linemen." I'm like, "Well, hold on a minute. Some of these offensive tackles now look like bodybuilders, like Tyron Smith.
They do.
Luke. They're a different group. I will accept guard.
Look at Mangold. Look at Kelsey in Philadelphia. The caveman look going on.
Exactly. Those are centers, man. That's who they are. That's that. I'm in the middle. I'm the fire hydrant at a dog show.
Yeah,
basically is what you are as a center. So. Tip of the cap, Nick Mangold. Tip of the cap to you, and we wish you all the best in the next thing. Hey, we've got Bradley Chubb coming up tomorrow, as well as Mel Kiper Jr. And we will see you tomorrow. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio, ESPN News.